Okay, so we're back at the printer. I did switch it on and off when I went up to have some food. But you know, you homed it and you're ready to go, and it should still remember the settings that we set. So I insert my disc in here. Remember, make sure that it hasn't accidentally put it on the lock setting. Oh, so annoying when that happens. Come out, and then, so I think I had it all warmed up. Let's have a look. Yep, I've set the temperatures. So the temperatures are 260 for PLA on this printer. It seems to work for me. I don't mess with it. Okay, so then you come out and you go to print. I've got loads of different things on here, so let me find what was it called? Now, what's happened? Something's gone wrong. That's weird, isn't it? Right, we'll find out what's wrong with it. Okay, so little thing that I forgot to say, whenever you're saving to your SD card, make sure that it's G code that you put on there. So remember, you've got your JPEGs can become STLs. STLs are read by the splicer, and then the splicer creates G code. G code is like geometric code for the printer to understand. So I forgot to mention that bit. I had a little thing just then when I was putting this card in and I went to print. It was giving me old prints. So what I did, and even though I erased the card, it was still doing it. It's like it held a bit of memory. So I just turned it on and off again. And then I've gone back to temperature, manual, putting it to 260 for the nozzle and the bed temperature. I'm going to just get it to find home. Remember, whenever you turn it on, you want to find home. I don't have to do those first steps we talked about of getting all the blocks and stuff done because we haven't, turned the printer off when it was not at home. Remember, if you bring it back home at the start and the end, you won't have to do that. But if you turn it off and, the bed's down here and the extruder head's up here, you will have to do those settings again because it won't remember where it was. Right. So I think we are okay. I don't need to do all the leveling business because we've already done that. I'm hoping we have enough filament to do this print. I'm going to see what happens because if it does run out, I'm intrigued to see what happens because technically that sensor should go off. I think red. You see that blue one over there, and then it should pause the print, and then I should be allowed to refill it. So it'll be an interesting test to see what happens. So then we go to print. Sorry, it didn't show you that bit. Let's go back in here. So press print. I've only got one file now, and it's my pop. I named it. I had to rename it just to test a few things. Right, so now you get this screen. What it's doing is it's starting to heat up the bed. And if you press this one, you can go into adjustments. Now, don't turn on economic. What that will do is it will turn off the heating of the bed after a few layers. It's supposed to save money, but actually you're at risk then of the whole thing will fall off the bed because that's how you get your prints off. You wait till the bed cools, so leave that off and always have the fan on. And you can also change, if you wanted to adjust any of the temperatures, you can do it in here. As I say, for this machine with PLA, 260 is fine. Right, so the printer always does this at the start. It will do a little test line almost to clear out the nozzle, and you can also use this one to see how well it's printing the line. It looks a bit crap. So if I can show you, it's not quite right. It's not squishing down into the bed enough. And it should be more flatter than that. So I'm going to pause it and I'm going to show a picture. So I've just gone into the settings and pressed pause. Missed that on the camera, but it's pretty obvious where it is. Right, so if I go, I'll take this so I can see what I'm doing. If I show you on, there's some really good pictures of this on Google. So 3D printing nozzle height. Let's see if that gives me what I'm looking for. Oh, images. Right, so this one's okay. So what it's showing you, you know how I said how you don't want it printing up in midair, because look, it's not adhering properly, and I think that's what's happening a little bit at the moment. We're just getting a round slug, and then you don't want it so low that it's actually catching on the filament and getting this kind of effect. But this one, it's just dragging a little bit, squishing it out. There's a few that do this in a bit. See that one? Actually, there was a better one. If I go back to that, this one describes it nicely. You know, it's just squishing it slightly and dragging it. This is too much and you're getting it catching, or it won't come out of the extruder at all. But this is nice and happy. Now, whenever you set your, you know, we were setting the Z offset and we were trying to make it all you know, level and all that bit, you'll never get the nozzle height perfect from doing that. That's what I've learned. I was going back and forth trying to get it perfect from that. You never will. You know, don't beat yourself up for that you'll end up coming into this. So the best way to get it is when it's on the fly, when the printer is going. And that's why I mean, it always does this, whatever the print is, just a little run off to get rid of crap from the nozzle. But actually doing a brim is really handy because you can watch it and you can see what it's doing, and you're almost dialing it in. And remember, whenever you set that, all your other prints thereafter, it will remember it. Also, if you do the Z home, always make it come home, but it will remember it, and that's how you dial it in. So don't go back to your bed leveling wondering why you can't get it. If you've done those stages, well, you're fine. Actually, the issue now comes that you're just dialing in where the nozzle height is, and you're visibly looking at it, how the filament is coming out. So what we're going to do is go back to, so I've just press print again, and I'll just check all of, alright, so here nozzle temp seems to have gone down to 0. I don't know why it's done that. It does often happen, so always go into your adjust bit and have a little check. So it's now heating up. This gives me a bit of time to tell you about this bit. So this value is our Z offset, so negative 0.13 millimeters. That's effectively how close the nozzle is to the bed. If I was to press the Z plus, it will increase the gap. If I press the Z negative, it will decrease the gap. Now we can see from our initial print that the gap is too high. The filament is just being blobbed off and it's not being dragged at all. It's too high. So when this starts printing, I'm going to gradually dial in, pressing Z negative, until I get that nice perfect drag. So we just got to wait for it to warm up. Let's see where it's at. It's 165. Let's give it a bit more time. But yeah, as I say, you can, whilst it's printing, if I press stop now, it would stop the whole print. But whilst it's printing, there is an option to pause it, which I generally wouldn't advise doing. But, you know, it is an option there. I think some people do that to change filaments between different layers, and you can get, you know, layering effects on prints. I think it's just a recipe for it failing. Trying to get that to adhere is going to be tricky. But anyway, so we are 197, 198. It's a bit slow to warm up, probably because I've got the door open. Right, here we go, and you see that pause has come back now. So I'm going to go over to adjust, and we're going to watch what it does. So it's trying to come back to where it left off. So it's resuming doing the brim. I am going to restart this print once I've dialed this in, but what I'm going to be doing, and I'll show you what happens up at the top, but I'm going to press the Z negative and I'm just going to watch. Ooh. Just pressed it once, and now I'm just having a look. What does it look like? Let's have a look. That, I only pressed it once then, and I'm just going to look at that layer. That might be all that it needs. Maybe one more. Let's see what happens if I press one more. Let's see. It's really hard to see this. You have to kind of see it to believe it. I found you want it to be a slightly squished out line. I mean, it's messing up now because it's all gone a bit wrong. So let's press. It's just dialing it in. So I'm going to press stop. I'm going to stop the printing. I'm going to go back into temperature. I'm going to put temperature back on, and I'm doing this quickly because it's really annoying when it cools down. I'm just going to, I know the bed's not cold, but I can just peel that off, chuck that out the way. And then let's go back to print. Let's print again. I've just gone back into print. It's printing again. The temperatures are all on. Just got to wait a minute for it to come back up to temperature. That's why I did that last bit really quickly. You can see our Z offset has changed ever so slightly. I'm just going to see what it does. Here we go. Ooh, don't touch the belts. Okay, so it's going to do that little first line. It's just homing itself. Right, here we go. It's going to do the first line. I'm going to have a little look now. I've got my finger near the ZX just to have a look. I think that's still too high. I'm just dialing it down a little bit. I've pressed it once. Let's have a look. What does it do now? Pull that out of the way. Yep, still a little too high. I've dialed it down to minus 3.15 now. Let's try a little bit more. Now I can see a problem on this. So I feel like I've dialed it in nicely, but when it came round to here, I could see the nozzle suddenly became too high. Now that means that the bed isn't level. Now when we went back to, you remember when I got the readings of the zeros on the table, and I was like, it won't matter too much. It will for this one because the print is quite large. So what I'm going to need to do is go back and re-level it because it's just a little bit off. But I've actually dialed down my Z offset really nicely. So I've gone down to minus 3.20, and that is generally giving me quite a good squish there. But over here, it's off, which tells me that the bed is too low on this side. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to stop the print, and I'm going to level the bed. This is where it gets frustrating, guys, but you just got to do it. I've gone through the aux leveling bit again. And look at the amount of play there on that corner. That just reiterates just how far off that was. So as I say, I'm going to go around all the corners. I'm going to dial them all in again, and then I'm going to press the measuring, option. So I'm at this point screen where you get all the four corners. Then I'm going to do the measuring and just see how close I am. I'm going to keep doing it until I'm happy that I'm getting 0.0 something on the values.